Okay, Bob Chapman, I apologize I know you're a busy fellow doing research. You didn't mind sitting there for 15 minutes. Good to have Bob Chapman with us right now. Bob, what's going on in the world?
Well, our president today addressed the Republican retreat, as it's called, and the results were that the Republicans weren't all that happy about what he had to say. And again, I think, like he did the other night in the State of the Union address, one purely political with a look toward, a mind toward next November, and I think that's a mistake for him. I think he would have been better off in both instances waltzing down the middle and trying to be a populist, but they must have some fierce hold on him, and he's still striking out for his programs, which I think are doomed, with the exception of the increase in short-term, I will call it, debt, which they rammed through. I think it was yesterday. I increased it from like 12.1 to 14.5 trillion or something like that. And that's another $25,000 a head for Americans to pay back. But I think that a lot of what went on today had to do with the ability of Congress to pass some measures which would increase employment, and he talked about the credits to be given to business for hiring people and that sort of thing, which he was forced to do, and he wants to make it look like it's a Democrat program, again, politics, as opposed to helping the people. He intends to help the people, but politics come first, which they shouldn't. And so the reason he did that is that both parties have plans which are relatively similar. And so he wants to put the stamp of the Democratic Party on it. And that's, I think, what it was really all about.
Absolutely. When we come back, I'm going to really try to give you the floor with just simple questions on the economy. Soros is saying he wants to kill gold, saying it's a bubble. Your take on that? The fact that they reconfirmed Bernanke, but that Geithner's on the verge of being indicted and being told to step down. That is coming up as well with Bob Chapman, theinternationalforecaster.com. I'm Alex Jones, prisonplanet.tv, jonesreport.com, and Infowars.com. Bob Chapman is our guest, as he is every Friday in the third hour. Bob, again, thank you for joining us. Obama is in free fall. Are you concerned about the danger of him now staging terror attacks or a new war to try to get his approval ratings up? I mean, that's what they always go to in their playbook.
Under normal circumstances, I'd say yes, but I think in his case, no. And the reason why, to me, is that they have to have better reasons than that to do a false flag operation or a 9/11 or something like that. These people are so easily replaceable. It's like we saw Geithner arrogantly, and it so much fits the personality and the same kind of experience that you had when you talked to Mr. Rothschild. They think they're above it all. They're in a plane that we cannot approach. We're just a bunch of animals upon Earth for them to herd around. And, you get this dreadful example of what they shouldn't be doing in front of the public, but they do it anyway. And I guess they just can't help themselves. Like Kramer saying that there's an Illuminati. Did you see that tape?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. I mean, did he mess up? But anyway, what we're looking at is a president that can be replaced in a light second. And I just don't feel that his waning popularity would bring that about. There have to be more serious plans to do things than that, because they can replace these guys in 5 seconds. Just like the fight over Bernanke, which was passed, he's going to continue to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve. If it wasn't him, it'd be some other goat that they would put in his place and say, look, this is what you do, and we'll arrange for you to live happily ever after. And it's the same thing with the President of the United States. If it isn't working well, all of a sudden what will happen is that they'll say, look, you tried and it didn't work, and so we're going to find out that you're not an American citizen. Much simpler.
Absolutely. What do you see unfolding with the banks? As the economy gets worse and worse, as the looting expands, as the shops and factories close, as the people discover the Federal Reserve is private, which they've now done, and that they are doing this by design, and as the calls for Geithner to be indicted for Bankstergate intensify, where do you see this going?
Well, first of all, I've not known of any illuminist who's ever gone to jail. I can't remember in the last 50 years one that did. And if anything, what they do is they say, yeah, he's guilty, but we're going to fine him, and that'll be the end of it. And then they'll put him in the staff of some foundation or several boards of directors, this sort of thing. That's how they get away with that.
And they have to do that because if any of their crooks ever go to prison, that sets the precedent that other crooks can go to prison. That's like in the old days in Europe. If a king was overthrown, the other king would just have him exiled, or Napoleon would be exiled, to a different island, because they don't want to set the precedent to ever taking down a kingpin.
Especially one of their own. And that's very important because their pecking order is important to them. They cover for each other, and even though sometimes they're at great odds with one another, the conspiracy itself is foremost and first. The generation of power from one generation to another. And so they don't let each other down. And if they do, it's a mistake. I mean, they do argue and fight among each other verbally about what should be done. And the people like Geithner and Rothschild keeping their mouth shut, and Kramer keeping his mouth shut too. But that would be a miracle. And but if you don't think all the time about what you're saying, you can really get yourself in trouble, right, Alex?
Bob, so how do you see this unfolding then with the banks and the economy? And I don't know if you saw the Soros clip. It's up on prisonplanet.com. We're going to play it coming out of the next break so you can comment on it further. He's really bad-mouthing gold right now, saying it's the biggest bubble when the currencies are all being simultaneously devalued. They're pumping trillions out into the economy to buy up assets. Gold is only going up because they're devaluing currency, so gold costs more. Isn't the currency and derivatives the ultimate bubble?
They certainly are. And you got to look at George's background. Convicted of stock fraud in France. He appealed and lost. Convicted of stock fraud in Hungary not too long ago. No appeal yet. The guy is an arch criminal. He's a front man for the Illuminati, and they say, look, this is what we're going to do, so you go out and do this, and this. And what will happen is you'll make about $20 billion, and then you will take that money, and this is where you'll put it, and this is what you'll do with it. And that's how it works. And when you die, all of the money that you've accumulated, let's say it's $100 billion, that will go to these different groups and foundations which we control. But George is doing this because he's being told to do it.
Well, it's like that clip.
The gold's going to go higher.
It's like that clip from him a few months ago where he said, "Of course I know where the dollar will be going, but I will not, of course, tell you." I mean, just a completely arrogant criminal piece of garbage. It was just, now, here's a separate question. I'm going to go back to gold.
Incidentally, that's the profile again, Alex, of the three people we just talked about. Arrogance. Above all, above everyone. It's a hallmark with these people nowadays. They never acted that way in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, but they do now.
Why? I mean, everybody's waking up to him. Why are they so arrogant now?
Well, I'm just telling you, you're not going to take us down, and I got news for them. They're going to get taken down. Hard.
Oh, do you think the arrogance is a front?
Absolutely. It's a psychological defense for a sociopath. I mean, did you see Geithner? Like, he treated
He looked like a cornered
devil.
devil. He looked like a cornered devil. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. And did you see our friend Mr. Paulson was terrified? He was terrified. And that's the second time I've seen that. And
yeah, he's losing it. He reportedly
emotional heat.
He reportedly collapsed once after one of these, and he is now shaking and can't talk. I mean, he didn't used to be like that.